this video, we're going to be looking at fretting, which means to stop a note on the neck. We're going to be looking at damping or muting with the fretting hand. And we're also going to be looking at thumb position as well on the neck. But before I look into any one of these things, I'd just like to show you a quick exercise that sort of orientates you with the instrument. It's very quick. All you need to do is put all your picking fingers on the strings like that so you don't get any noise. With your fretting hand, line all the fingers up on the E string with your thumb roughly in the middle of the neck. But again, I'll come back to thumb position in a minute. But for the time being, just slide from one end of the neck whilst keeping all the fingers in position and not putting any pressure on the neck at all. So this should feel absolutely natural in going from one end of the neck to the next. You should also start to become aware of your posture and the linkage system between you and the instrument. By linkage system, I mean your shoulder, your elbow, your wrist, and your fingers. In just taking the fretting hand from one end of the neck to the other, by the way, going this way is up in pitch and going that way is down in pitch. Just in doing that, you really get an idea of space and orientation with the instrument as well. It's all about ergonomics, really. It just gives you an idea of how your body is lining up with the instrument, and also whether or not your position is okay as well. For instance, if your strap height is too high or too low, you might not be able to reach all the parts of the neck. So again, try this on all the strings, stopping sometimes in the middle as if you're playing something, and just get the feeling that you can glide from any part of the neck to the next part of the neck with absolute ease in an effortless way and totally relaxed as well. So it just feels very natural with the instrument. Okay, the next thing that I get asked quite a bit is where should the thumb be on the neck? Your fretting thumb, that is, on the fretting hand. Because you'll see a lot of players, they put their thumb over the neck, some people put their thumb along the neck, and some players will have their thumb right in the middle. Really, it's kind of up to you. There's only one way to play the bass, and that's your way. There can be advantages sometimes in having your thumb in the middle of the neck, and it just allows the fingers to be a little bit more dexterous. I've always found it so anyway. For instance, if I hold a pencil and I put my thumb roughly in the middle of the fingers like that, that's the sort of position that you end up with. You'll notice the fingers are a bit like a Roman arch. And of course, Roman arches are very strong in supporting weight, and that's really what we're kind of doing. In that position, I can take any finger off and that shape won't collapse. Whereas if I move my thumb to another position, then the hand shape is not quite so stable. So I kind of look at it that way. You'll see a lot of classical double bass players using that sort of position as well, because it just, number one, it's relaxed, and number two, it just allows you to get to move across the neck with a little bit more freedom. But as I said, it's up to you. You need to experiment with all these different ways or different shapes that your hand can take up. And don't think the hand's ever going to be concrete, set in stone as it were. Sometimes it will have to change shape depending on what you're playing. You know, you might need a more flat shape to damp all the strings out, or you might need a more curved shape with the thumb in a slightly different position if you're playing something a bit more complex like that, playing chords. Again, the hand should just be able to mold itself to whatever's being played, and this can be a very personal thing and a very personally ergonomic thing as well. So again, experiment with these things and see what's comfortable for you. So next we're going to be looking at some fretting ideas, and when it comes to fretting, the best place to fret a note is right up against the fret. So if we look at our fret cam up there, you'll notice that my finger's right up against that fret. The reason being, if I move to the middle of the fret, I'm more likely to get a buzz. And my finger's probably going to have to put about 30% more pressure onto that string to get the note back. So it's a bit like pushing down on a seesaw. If you push down at the end of the seesaw, you're going to use less pressure than if you try to push the seesaw down in the middle. Again, it's leverage. So right up against the fret is the best place to put your fretting fingers. So fretting, we're just going to look at some open string ideas, and then we're going to put some other fingers along with that, and then look at a completely closed idea where we don't use any open strings at all. So first of all, we're just going to take an open E, and with our first finger up against the fret, fret the second fret like that. So it's open, fret, open, fret. Don't worry about playing this in time so much, because we're really more interested in the action, in the motor patterns that we're creating. Playing in time will happen on its own as we get more used to these shapes and these patterns. So we're coming up in pitch. So open, fret. So let's try going down in pitch. Fret, open, fret, open. Let's try the same thing with the A string. Open, fret, open, fret, down in pitch, fret, open, fret, open. Same again, this time we're going to use our second finger, which happens to be right over the third fret. So open, fret, open, fret. Same again with the A string. Now, one thing you can do when you fret with the second finger is use the first finger to support. And again, you're just dividing the energy or the pressure that you're putting on the string by dividing it between two fingers. So up in pitch, A string, up in pitch. Now we're going to go down in pitch. And on the E string, down in pitch. Okay, let's try that with eighth notes. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and A string. Down in pitch. E string. Now we can try a little bass line. Mostly eighth notes. Okay, next up we're going to use the first and the second finger to come up in pitch, and then we'll go down in pitch with the second and first finger going that way. So up in pitch. Then to the A string. Now down in pitch. E string, down in pitch. Now we can also try coming up in pitch and going down in pitch. Okay, next we're going to try fretting from the 3rd fret to the 5th fret. Now, one way that is normally suggested is 1 finger per fret, so that would mean fretting between finger 1 and finger 3. So you get this idea. Coming up in pitch again. Now, if you are using this technique, do try and use the second finger to support the third finger as well. And we'll try the same thing again, this time on the A string. So we're going from the 3rd fret to the 5th fret. And down a pitch. E string, down a pitch. Now, another way of doing this would be to use your 4th finger. This time we'll use the 2nd and the 3rd finger to support what the 4th finger is doing. And that way, again, we're dividing up the pressure with all the fingers. So we're going to come up in pitch. Onto the A string, up in pitch. Again, notice how all the fingers are all moving as a unit. And of course, what this also does, it stops these unwanted flyaway fingers. And you can feel the pressure in your hand when you do that. If we take the 2 fingers off and just fret with the 4th finger, you can feel all the tension in the fretting hand. Whereas if I put all the fingers down and they're all fretting together at the same time, the pressure's spread across the hand and it's a lot more relaxed. Okay, this time we'll go down in pitch, and I think of this a little bit like a steamroller, sort of rolling off the neck, as it were. And onto the A string. Okay, so that's some basic fretting ideas there. So let's look at some damping ideas using these fingers as well. Now, the way you damp or mute a note is a bit like our first exercise. You just really release the pressure from the string. So for as long as I hold the note down, the note will ring. As soon as I release the pressure but keep my fingers on the string, the note is damped or muted. Again, we can keep that as long or as short as we want, and we can do this with all the fingers. And one advantage again of using all the fingers is you're less likely to get ringing harmonics when you want to damp the note. You can hear that note ringing now. So if I put all my fingers down, there, harmonic's gone. So these fretting actions, especially alternating fingers, will crop up in so many different bass lines. For instance, or so that's just using all the actions that we've looked at today. We've looked at one finger, combining fingers, or just fretting between 2 notes. So I hope you found that helpful, and if you have, please remember to like and subscribe. And there's also Patreon as well that will help support this channel, and will also give you access to reduced fees in one-to-one lessons, and it'll also open up access to different resources as well that'll be available. Again, I hope you've enjoyed watching this. I hope it's been useful. My name's Pete. This is The Infinite Bass. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.